Hello, once again, this is Antonio, and I'm coming at you with another exciting video. Now, in this video is interesting. The gentleman was ordered to stay away from the defendant. Not only did he defy the court order, he got physical with the defendant. And his nonchalant attitude is the reason why he was remanded in order to have himself picked up in the court of law, because when the judge is telling you the court orders to stay away from the defendant, not only do you don't stay away from the defendant, you go and you break some of her stuff. But nevertheless, let's dive into the video. We on the road to 10,000. Please don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. YouTube is not sharing my videos. YouTube is not sharing my videos. They say they are, but I don't feel that they are, because we dropping heat. Let's dive into the content, and then we'll be coming back with some more.
Podium.
Mr. Dixon is on the Zoom call. Mr. Dixon, can you please turn your video on and your sound as well, or your microphone? Unmute yourself, I guess. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Dixon, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes.
All right, you can put your hand down. Mr. Dixon, you're before the court on 2024 CR 02178. Raquan Lamar Monte Dixon, represented by Lister Holton Dennis, Chelsea Hahn. This is on a motion to revoke bond. Instead, you're taking a plea. Simple battery, family violence count 1, and simple battery count 2. Ms. Hahn, what is your client plea to the offenses before the court?
Your Honor, he will be entering a plea of Nolo to count 1, and count 2 will merge.
All right. By entering a plea of Nolo to count 1, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, sir?
Yes.
All right. Factual basis recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. On about April 4th of 2023, officers responded to 1018 Gardnerwood Drive in Clayton County, Georgia, and made contact with the victim, Ms. Nia Jones, who stated that the defendant did pick her up several times and throw her on the bed, as well as pushing her whenever she would try to get off the bed. And all this occurred, and they did reside in the same household, and all this occurred in Clayton County. The recommendation is for count 1, 12 months to serve for 90 days jail, balance suspended upon him having no contact with Miss Nia Jones. And for count 2 would merge into count 1.
All right. Who's Nia Jones, Ms. Hahn?
Your Honor, I believe they're partners.
All right, Mr. Dixon, what's going on? Do you have children with Miss Jones?
No, not at all.
All right. What was the basis of the motion to revoke?
It was another case with it was 2 more cases with Miss Jones, criminal trespass, damage in the 2nd degree, and battery, family violence with Miss Jones from March of this year.
Mr. Dixon.
Yes.
Look at me clearly, sir. Okay, what is going on that you can't leave Miss Jones alone?
I don't know how I caught the cases for March, because
No, sir. No, we're gonna change the terminology. You didn't catch the cases like somebody catch a basketball. You went looking for these cases. Nobody took you over to Miss Jones's house and let you catch a case. You went looking for them. And it was in contravention of the court's order that you not have any contact. So by all rights, you should be charged with felonies. What I'm trying to get through to you is Just because this is being resolved with a plea and 90 days in jail doesn't mean that it's not serious. You ain't catch no case. You went looking for one. Now, let's continue. What's going on that you can't stay away from Miss Jones and you can't stop treating her in a violent manner? Look at me in the computer. Stop
Yes,
looking down.
Yes, ma'am. I really don't know. It's just everything, like with the situation, everything be cool, okay? It just things happen when people
No.
drink like that.
Let me tell you something, Mr. Dixon, because you're about to give me a lot of who's and what's and stuff I don't want to hear. Sometimes people can love each other, but they shouldn't be in a relationship together. And clearly this is the case. Love doesn't hurt. Love doesn't push. Love doesn't throw you on the bed. Love doesn't beat you down. Love doesn't catch 3 cases. You gonna end up being one of them cases on TV where it's a murder-suicide because you can't let Miss Jones go. And what I'm telling you is, your attorney and the state are okay with this plea, but I'm not necessarily okay with it. I still think you should be charged with a felony.
Your Honor, I've spoken.
Ms. Hahn, hold on. No, this young man needs to learn, because this is going to be one of those cases. 3 times, same person. And all he can tell me is, I caught a case and see what had happened was. The issue is not with Miss Jones. I don't care what she did. The issue is with you. Because if somebody's not treating you well, or if somebody's not in a relationship the way you want to be in a relationship, walk away, find a new relationship. But your inability to do that, and you're changing it into a violent situation, the problem is with you, not Miss Jones. She got her own issues. It's with you. And until you acknowledge that, you're going to keep coming back here for violent encounters with Miss Jones.
I understand that.
The last thing I want is to see a television news report of murder-suicide. Mr. Raekwon Dixon shot up or killed up Miss Jones. He had been before the judge 3 or 4 times. He ignored all orders to stay away from Miss Jones. So you're playing with me now. I think you should be charged with a felony, and I'm not sure I'm okay with this plea.
Your Honor, this is a simple battery on the first case. Mr. Dixon has let me know, at least on the other cases, as I mentioned before to the court, that there may be an alibi defense, at least in one of them. I do believe that we will be taking at least one of those cases to trial. So we're asking that you accept the plea, Your Honor. Mr. Dixon, he does have children and a job that he's been able to keep steadily. He's explained to me that he's had his children for the last 3 weeks.
Well, that's whoever that crazy person is. That don't mean nothing to me. He's still got to do 90 days. Where the children going when he do his 90 days?
I understand, Your Honor. So we did have that conversation. He said that the children will be partially with their mother, and then in the time that would be allotted to him, he would have them stay with his parents until he's released. So, Your Honor, we are asking that you accept Mr. Dixon's plea.
Mr. Dixon.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so here's the thing. Let me explain to you what should happen. When you got the second case which involved Miss Jones, you should have gotten a charge with aggravated stalking, which is a felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison, a $10,000 fine, or both. And I've never seen them just give somebody the fine. Once it goes upstairs, especially if you get certain judges, you likely to get a good portion of them years. Number 1. Number 2, you could also be charged with a misdemeanor, 12 months in jail, a $12,000 fine, or both. In addition to that, having your bond revoked. Okay, whoever's on the iPhone, mute yourself.
Oh, okay.
And have some decorum. We're in court. So what I'm saying to you is the consequences of what you're doing are extremely serious. The problem is the court hasn't caught up with what you're doing. After that second case, you should have been charged with the felony of aggravated stalking. And I keep pushing the police. I keep pushing the solicitors. I want to see some aggravated stalking charges because I'm tired of people coming back with 3 and 4 violent misdemeanors because they keep getting away with it. So please hear me very clearly, because the state seems to be okay with this. Ms. Hahn seems to be okay with this. I'm not okay with this. I think as soon as I sentence you, you do these 90 days in jail, you're going to run right back to Miss Jones, and it's going to be worse. Because I'm looking in your eyes. You ain't ready to give that up. You ain't ready to walk away. Yeah, let's do the motion to revoke. I'm not taking this plea.
Your Honor.
He should have been in court. He already knows. So, and if I have to send county Uber to get him, I'm fine with that too.
Mr. Dixon. Mr. Dixon.
You see, people are playing. They case after case after case. Bond conditions clear as day. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do this. And folks keep doing it.
Did he log?
Huh?
Your Honor, if I could, well, I'll
All
need
right.
a moment at some point to call him because
That's fine. Bless his heart.
off.
Let him be mad for a minute. We got Reeves. Plea.
Yes, Your Honor, that's going to be a plea.
Payne, and Ms. Payne and Ms. Hahn, are we ready to go forward on this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Payne.
Yes, Your Honor, the state would call Officer Sanders to the stand.
All right, Officer Sanders, may I see you, please? Raise your right hand for me.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
All right, you can put your hand down. You're before the court for the hearing on State of Georgia versus Dixon, motion to revoke, and the state has called you as a witness. Ms. Payne, your witness.
Yes, Your Honor. And I meant to say before I ask Officer Sanders the first question, I was going to ask the court to take judicial notice of the fact that Mr. Dixon was out on bond from April 5th of 2023 with the bond conditions to stay away from Miss Nia Jones, the bond condition to stay away from 1018 Gardenwood Drive, College Park, Georgia, and to not violate any other laws of the state.
Any objection to the court taking judicial notice?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, court will do so.
Officer Sanders, can you state your name, please?
I'm Officer Sanders from the Clayton County Police Department.
How long have you worked there, sir?
Almost 3 years now.
Did you work there back on September 3rd of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you on duty that day?
Yes, I was.
Did you receive a call from dispatch that day?
Yes, I received a call from dispatch to go to, I believe her name is Miss Nayaz. I'm sorry, I don't have the paper in front of me. For a domestic dispute.
Did you respond to 1018 Gardenwood Drive?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that in Clayton County, sir?
That is.
Okay. And you stated you made contact with Miss Nia Jones?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what did she tell you, sir?
Miss Nia Jones stated that Mr. Dixon was at her apartment and they got into a verbal dispute that turned physical. She showed me that she had minor lacerations to her neck and chest area. She showed me that there was damage to property in her residence. It was a table and chair set that was destroyed. She also said that her iPhone was taken as well as her firearm.
Okay. And did you observe damage to a TV and a living room table and entertainment center?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Did you estimate approximately how much damage that was?
It was over $500 worth of damage. What she was able to tell me was that the iPhone itself was about $300, and I don't recall her giving me an amount for the entertainment system, but the TV was well over $300 as well.
And the TV was well over $300 or $500. What'd you say?
It was over $300.
And were you able to make contact with the defendant on that day?
No, ma'am, he wasn't there at the residence.
And at the end of your investigation, did you decide to take out arrest warrants against the defendant?
Yes.
And what warrants did you take out?
I took out warrants for battery and criminal damage to property due to the total estimate of damages, as well as theft by taking.
Okay. And
Let me ask this question. So, sir, were you aware that he had previously been arrested?
No, I wasn't aware. At the time of the incident, I wasn't aware.
Were you able to ascertain that?
Sometimes you can see it in our system when we run people's names, but when I received his information from the victim, nothing appeared that he was already arrested for the previous incident. But the victim did specify that this has been an ongoing event with them too, as far as domestic violence.
Did at any time you determine that there was a bond condition in place that prevented him from going to that location or having contact with her?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
Is there a way to be aware of that?
We would have to call the Clayton County Sheriff's Office to verify if there was a bond condition, but normally for us to know, usually victims will tell us that the person is not allowed to be at the residence.
So if someone tells you that, do you take the next step to verify whether there's a bond condition?
Yes, normally we would ask if they have paperwork, or we would just ask what the charges were. So when I called the jail with his information, they could just tell me what the bond conditions are.
All right. And at that point, if it is found that they had bond conditions, as in this case, to stay away from the person of Ms. Jones and to stay away from the location, would you then take any further action as to take out a warrant for aggravated stalking or a warrant for violation of a bond condition?
Yes, normally in the past, I've taken out warrants for aggravated stalking due to the incident, as well as contacting probation officers if they are on some type of probation.
But in this case, you didn't do that because you didn't see the information.
Yes, I didn't have that information on hand at the time of the incident.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Ms. Payne?
just one more question, Officer Sanders. When speaking with Ms. Jones, did she indicate whether the defendant and her were residing at the same address?
She did. I mean, in this instance, she didn't use the verbiage of "he lives here," but it was implied that he stayed at the residence, which is the reason why I didn't feel comfortable making my charges family violence. So I just added in my report that he stayed at the residence based on what the victim told me.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Ms. Hahn?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Officer Sanders. You never spoke with my client, correct?
No.
You never saw him at the incident location, correct?
Correct.
You never saw anything that happened as far as this incident, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you're not sure that my client was even at the scene, correct?
Correct. This was testimonial evidence that was given to me when I spoke to the victim.
Okay. And you're not sure that my client did any of the things that Ms. Jones had mentioned that he did, correct?
Correct. I had no substantiated evidence to prove that your client committed those acts.
Okay. And how did you assess the value of the television?
Based on the inch of the television, I just normally go online and see what the cheapest is and price it that way whenever a victim can't tell me. But the estimated value of the cell phone was given to me by her.
Okay. And did you verify that as well online?
No, because the phone that she had was an older model, so
Okay,
it was based on whatever she paid for it at the time.
understood. Okay. Um, and then I just wanted to clarify just one of the judge's questions. She never told you at any point that my client was living there. It was just implied. Is your testimony correct?
Yes, it was implied based on how she addressed him, and she made statements to say that he stays here, but she wouldn't validate whether he lived or reside at the residence.
Okay. All right. No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you, officer.
All right, anything else, Ms. Payne?
Yes, Your Honor. Officer Sanders, would you take out warrants for the defendant if you didn't have evidence to believe that he in fact did strike her with an open hand, causing a neck laceration and damage her TV and living room table?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, yes, you would take out warrants if you didn't have
I'm
evidence.
sorry, can you?
No, you wouldn't.
Yes, I would. Based on the amount of damage and what was stated to me by the witness, that's what made me go forward with taking out my warrants. And as I explained it to the judge that granted me the warrants, that I didn't have him on the scene. Normally I try to make contact with the suspect via phone call, but that's not always successful. My victim was very adamant that he was the only one at the residence with her.
So based on how Ms. Jones was communicating with you and how adamant she was being, you had enough evidence to take out warrants for battery and criminal trespass in the second degree and theft by taking, correct?
Yes, I used the testimonial evidence to go forth with the warrants.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Anything else, Ms. Hahn?
No, Your Honor.
All right, does the state have, is the state done with this witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, may this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, does the state have another witness to present at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. The state would call Officer Aguilar to the stand.
All right, Officer Aguilar, unmute for me.
Good
Mr.
afternoon.
Dixon, I can't see your face. I keep seeing a ceiling. All right. there.
Because I have the phone close to me because the sound is not loud, so I'm trying to listen.
Okay. All right, Officer Aguilar,
Yes, ma'am.
raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
I do.
All right, you can put your hand down. Officer Aguilar, you're before the court for the motion to revoke State of Georgia versus Dixon. Ms. Payne, you're a witness.
Yes, Your Honor. Officer Aguilar, can you state your name, please?
My name is Jennifer Aguilar.
And where do you work, ma'am?
I work with Clayton County Police Department.
Apologize. And how long have you worked there, ma'am?
I've worked there about 2 years now.
Did you work there back on February 15th of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you on duty that day, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you receive a call from dispatch that day?
I did.
And where did you respond to, ma'am?
Gardenwood Apartments.
Is that in Clayton County?
That is in Clayton County.
And who did you make contact with when you responded there?
I made contact with Nia Jones, the victim.
And what did she tell you?
She stated that she had engaged in a verbal altercation with her boyfriend, Mr. Dixon, over Valentine's Day because he decided to spend it with his friends instead of her. They started arguing and he slammed the door on her hand. So you have visible injuries to a couple of her fingers. The pictures have been attached to the report. When I got on scene, he was not on scene, but we've responded out to that residence a couple of times and he does the same thing. He runs out the back to the woods. Yeah, and the whole house was in disarray. from the altercation.
And you stated that you saw visible injuries on her fingers. What visible injury did you see, ma'am? Do you remember?
Yes. So there was a bleeding cut, or it's like you could see it was slammed. Like her hand was slammed in the door, so there was cuts to like 3 fingers, and there was a previous call also placed at dispatch, but they only asked for EMS, where she said her hand was smashed, but she neglected to let him know that it was over domestic issues. Then there was a second call because the altercation continued. That's when she called for the actual reason why or how she acquired her injury.
So, it's your testimony today that the injury that you observed was consistent with her hand being slammed into the door?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did she let you know who slammed her hand into the door?
Yes, ma'am.
And who'd she say did that?
She said it was her boyfriend, Raekwon Dixon.
Okay. And you stated he wasn't on scene when you arrived there. Did you attempt to locate him at all?
I did. Yeah, we did. We usually try to call him on the phone. He was not answering. We stayed at the location. We went through the woods looking for him. He wasn't there. So I requested warrants for him.
And what warrants did you request?
Battery.
And did you request it for just battery or battery family violence?
Battery family violence.
And why did you request the family violence element to it?
Miss Jones said that he was staying there. He had been kicked out of his mom's house, so whenever they get into it, he goes to his mom's house, but he mainly stays there. He also had belongings in the house and stuff with his name on it. So that gave me the impression or implied impression that he lived there. His kids also stay there as well. So they have belongings there as well.
All right. And did she also tell you that she no longer wanted the defendant at her residence anymore?
No, she did not state that.
Did she tell you that this was not the first time that she has called law enforcement on him?
That's affirmative. She did state domestic history.
Okay. And honestly, thank you, ma'am. No further questions.
All right, cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Officer Aguilar, you mentioned my client wasn't at the incident location. You don't know that he was ever there, do you?
Yes, they have security cameras in the house. So the camera security footage has like a view of the living room. So we see that he's at the location, and at the moment of the altercation, they turn the camera. So
Okay.
Yeah.
You weren't present at the time of the altercation, correct? Of the alleged altercation?
No, ma'am.
So you're not aware that my client could have been acting in self-defense if there were even an altercation?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And had you ever made contact with my client before?
Not physically. No, ma'am.
When you say not physically, what does that mean, Officer Aguilar?
When we respond out to the resident and he leaves the scene, he'll talk to us through the door camera.
So you've been there before?
Camera. Yes, a couple times.
Tell me how many times you think you responded to incidents at this location?
Probably like 3 times that I can remember.
Okay, was that with Officer Sanders or is that on your own? or with another
That's
officer?
on my own with other officers as well. So I'm morning, Kendra to the evening watch.
Okay.
And Officer Aguilar, so you said you had responded before, but you've never personally seen my client? Do you know what he looks like?
I've seen him on camera. Like I said, I know he's got like longish dreads. I know he's like a skinnier build from afar, or just, we check through NCIC, GCI software. So I look at his image, but he always does the same thing. He leaves before we get there.
Okay, so you're not sure if the person that's been talking to you through the door is even my client, correct? You can't say for certain.
I can't say for certain, but he responds to my questions as if he were the person in question.
Okay. 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 And so you took out a warrant for my client's arrest without ever hearing his side of the story, correct?
I remember I took out the warrant, but I felt confident in my warrant because when I was talking through the camera, it was him responding. I had his children. His children. I'm sorry, I don't want to confuse it with the other times I've been there. I know I felt confident taking out the warrant. I wouldn't have taken out the warrant if I hadn't felt confident that I was talking to him. But I don't think maybe that occasion I talked to him.
Okay. All right, no further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect off Solicitor Payne?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else for Officer Aguilar?
No, Your Honor, she can be excused.
All right, Officer Aguilar, you can be excused unless you have something else pending on the calendar. All right. Does the state have any additional witnesses to present?
The state would call Miss Nia Jones.
All right. Ms. Jones? May I see your face, please?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Jones, you're before the court on State of Georgia versus Dixon. Ms. Payne, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Jones, can you state your name, please?
Najee Jones.
Oh, I apologize for mispronouncing it then.
Thank you.
How do you spell that, ma'am?
Nyjaya.
Okay. And Ms. Jones, are you the named victim in Raekwon Dixon's case back from April 4th of 2023?
Yes.
Okay. Did you also have reason to call 911 on September 3rd of 2023 and February 15th of this year?
Every time I've called, I've had reason. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And specifically, let's start with September 3rd, 2023, just because that goes chronologically. What was your reason to call 911 that day?
The first incident, it was a verbal altercation that turned a little physical. There was a lot of pushing from Mr. Dixon.
Ma'am, not trying to truly cut you off. I'm not actually asking about the first incident back from April. I'm fast forwarding to September 3rd.
There's been so many.
When Officer Sanders responded to the scene. Do you remember, did Mr. Dixon ever break your TV in your living room table?
Yes.
Okay. To your knowledge, did that happen on September 3rd, 2023?
Yes.
Your recollection. All right. And on that day, did he also hit you, causing a laceration to your neck?
Your Honor, objections are leading.
I'm sorry?
Open-ended questions, Payne.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Jones, on that day, did Mr. Dixon hit you?
It wasn't a, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Not a-
Did you get an injury from him hitting you?
Yes,
What injury did you get, ma'am?
I have scars on my neck. It wasn't a hit. It was like a scratch from the altercations. It wasn't a direct strike, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
It does, ma'am. And then after he struck you and scratched you, did anything else happen that day?
It was all one altercation.
Okay, so when you say it was an altercation, what do you mean? What happened during that whole altercation?
It was a verbal altercation that turned physical. I can't honestly tell you exactly how everything went down. I have too many situations to try to remember the exact one.
Okay. Do you remember roundabout with that incident? Not necessarily specifically, but roundabout what turned the altercation physical?
I can't say.
Okay. And when the altercation turned physical, besides injury, did you also get property damage?
Yes.
And what property was damaged on that day?
It was my TV, my entertainment system, my living room table set. Yeah, I believe that's all that was.
Okay. And did he take anything of yours that day?
Yes, my iPhone.
Right. And approximately how much damage to your knowledge was done that day, financially speaking? Like approximately how much damage was it?
I had to say about $600 worth of damage.
Yeah. And do you know approximately how much your iPhone was worth?
I'm honestly not sure. It was an older iPhone, I believe like an iPhone 11, so probably around $200 or $300.
Okay. And at that specific time, to your knowledge, did Mr. Dixon have a bond condition to stay away from you and from 1018 Gardenwood Drive?
Not that I know of.
You weren't aware of the bond condition?
No.
Okay. And when you called law enforcement that day, did you relay to them everything that happened?
I'm sorry?
When you called law enforcement on September 3rd, 2023, did you relay to them everything you just told us?
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, was Mr. Dixon on scene at that time?
No, he wasn't.
What caused him to leave?
The fact that I was calling the police.
Sorry. And to your knowledge, did the law enforcement officer take out warrants for him for that altercation?
I believe he did, yes.
Okay. And then moving to February 15th, 2024, did you have a reason to call 911 that day?
I believe that is when my hand was smashed in the door.
And how was your hand smashed in the door?
I was trying to leave out of my room and Mr. Dixon was holding the other side of the door. With me trying to get out, I put my hand in the way of the door and it ended up getting stuck in the door while he was trying to close it from the other side.
So, if I understand correctly, what you just said is that you were trying to leave your room and Mr. Dixon was trying to prevent you from leaving your room? Is that correct? And the altercation of him trying to prevent you from leaving your room, did you testify to that your hand was in the way and you slammed the door on your hand?
Yes, my hand got slammed in the door.
And did you get a a deep cut on your fingers for that?
Yes, it was bad. I called EMS before I even called the police that day, and they came and checked it out and wrapped it up for me.
Did you end up ever going to the hospital to get stitches or anything for it?
No.
And did the defendant reside with you at that time?
No.
Was he coming back and forth to the house?
Yes.
Okay. Has he ever lived with you at that place?
No.
And do you see the person on the Zoom platform today that slammed their hand into the door, causing you to get a gash on your finger? And
Mr. Dixon, I need to see your face.
And then back on September 3rd, took your phone and broke your entertainment center and your TV and caused a scratch on your neck. Do you see that person on the Zoom platform today?
Yes.
Right. Can you identify him?
Raekwon Dixon.
Can you identify him by something that he's wearing or the background behind him?
He has locks. There's a brick background.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
Ms. Hahn?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Jones, you often take care of my client's children, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you have a good relationship with them?
Yes.
Okay. You have a good relationship with their mother, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You said that your hand got slammed, and it caused you to call EMS. Is there a reason that was the first call that you made?
Not necessarily. I didn't want to call it all.
And how long between the time that you called EMS was it that you called the police?
Maybe a couple hours.
Couple hours. Okay. Okay. All right. No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Jones, I have questions. So,
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Jones, how old are you?
I'm 22 years old.
How old is Mr. Dixon?
He is 25.
Okay. And how long have y'all known each other?
For about 3 years now.
Okay. And how does Mr. Dixon, you say he doesn't live there, but he keeps coming back and forth. How does he keep getting into your house?
Various ways. I have let him in before. If somebody else is there, then they'll let him in.
You live alone or you live with someone else?
I live by myself.
Okay. Do you have any children?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so the only children that would have been in the home would be the children that he has?
No. Well, at the time, yes. But no, I
Okay.
have more than just his children that go to my house.
Okay. All right. You keep kids or you just keep his as a favor to him?
No, I was keeping his as a favor to him, but I have my siblings and other kids like that that go over to my house.
Okay. All right. All right. Did the state have any other questions for Ms. Jones?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Did the defense have additional witnesses to present in this case?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I'll entertain argument.
The state would just waive its right to opening and reserve the right to close.
All right. Ms. Hahn?
Your Honor, we're asking that the bond not be revoked in this case. The state's first two witnesses, the officers never saw my client at the location of the incident. They don't know what happened on that day. They've only taken the testimony of testimonial evidence from the alleged victim. Let's see. And then also in the state's motion, they have they're requesting to violate revoke, the defendant's bond based on a battery family violence charge. And there is no battery family violence in this case, considering the fact that the alleged victim and my client have never lived together. They don't have children together. So it wouldn't be a battery family violence if there were even enough evidence to show that there were an altercation that took place on that day.
Was your client arrested for said altercation, Ms. Hahn?
Your Honor, he was.
Okay, and generally, if they arrest, it's usually not until a plea or trial that the case is examined to see whether the charge needs to be changed to just a plain battery or plain battery family violence. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so the basis of the bond in this case would be based on what he was arrested for and the fact that he was not to violate any of the terms and conditions of the bond. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
So the substance of the arrest would come for later when it's a plea or a trial, not with respect to what the requirements are for bond. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
Your Honor, while that is true, our contention is that because we don't believe there's sufficient evidence for the arrest in the first place. The fact that he was not present shows that he wasn't a danger to the alleged victim in the case. I don't believe the state has met their burden of proving that in any way. There's been no evidence to show that he was even at the scene. Or that he has had contact with Ms. Jones. So, Your Honor, we're asking that his bond not be revoked.
All right, I'll hear from the state.
Yes, Your Honor, the state does feel that we have met our burden to show that Mr. Dixon's bond should be revoked.
Just 1 second, I'll be right back.
Is Mr. Smith still on?
I thought the judge told him to come to the courthouse.
Yeah, I didn't know if he got that message or not. So that's what I was looking. I don't see him, but
Hey, how you doing, Ms. Hahn? This is Officer Shelby on that case for Mr. DeVarsity Smith. Are they sure he's going to show up for court? Because this is my off day, and I've been here since 10, so.
yeah, I mean, he was here on the Zoom call, so I guess I'm gonna keep trying to call him to make sure that he appears in the courtroom. So
Yeah, because I know his residence is in Ellenwood. I think he lives in Ellen, but his mom lives in Decatur, so I'm trying to figure out if he's in Decatur or not.
oh, like as far as like distance wise and getting to Clayton County.
Yes, ma'am.
I will keep trying him.
All right, thank you.
You're
Also,
welcome.
Shelby, I'm pretty sure the judge is going to want to go forward with the motion to revoke bond, even if he doesn't physically show up in the court. So
Understand.
continued patience would be very much appreciated. I apologize.
I'm clear.
All right, Ms. Payne, thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. The state does feel that we've met our burden to prove that Mr. Dixon's bond should be revoked, and that on April 5th of 2023, he was let out on bond for a case against Miss Nia Jones that was a simple battery, family violence, and was told not to stay away from Miss Nia Jones, to not return to 1018 Gardenwood Drive, and to not violate any further laws of the state. And while on bond, you heard today testimony from two officers and Miss Jones that he committed two more, or not two more offenses, but two more separate cases against Miss Nia Jones. And one case from September 3rd of last year, the officer testified that he saw damage to property that would be criminal damage, property in the second degree, because it amounted to over $500. You heard Ms. Jones testify to the fact that Mr. Dixon is actually one who broke her property, caused a laceration to her neck, and stole her cell phone. You also heard her testify to that just this year, in February of this year, he committed another offense against her when he slammed her hand into the door and got a gash on her finger that she actually received treatment from EMS on. And that according to OCGA 1761, the purpose of being out on bond is the court is supposed to find that the defendant poses no significant risk of fleeing from the jurisdiction, or failing to appear in court when required. And even today, he was told to appear in person, and we're here on Zoom where he hasn't appeared for court in person as required. The next thing is that he poses no significant threat or danger to any person, to the community, or to any property in the community. And clearly he's posing a threat to Miss Jones as he keeps going back over there, violating the conditions of bond that the court has set, not even disregarding what the court is actually ordering him to do. And could also pose a risk of intimidating her, which is another element of the bail. So the state would ask that you do find that he has violated the conditions of his bond, and that you do revoke him until his trial can be heard on this case.
All right. All right. Ms. Hahn has argued that there was no evidence that Mr. Dixon was in fact the perpetrator in these offenses, but Ms. Jones has testified that not once, not twice, but 3 separate occasions, Mr. Jones has come to her house where she says does not live, but has come and it's ended up with a situation where there was violence, where she suffered injury, where her property has been damaged, property that is solely hers because she says that it is her home. They don't share any kids together, and I did not hear from the testimony that they were living together. However, the fact that he was arrested on a battery, family violence, as opposed to a battery, that's something that gets cleared up on the plea or on the trial. But the arrest, the bond that was done on the arrest, the bond condition itself requires that he not have any contact with her, and that he stay away from her location. Well, he has violated, per the testimony presented by both officers and by Ms. Jones, he has violated both of those provisions of the bond conditions. In addition to that, he's violated the provision of the bond condition that says that he's not to have any additional criminal charges once you are out on bond. Bond is for the purpose of assisting your counsel with the defense of your case. It is not to run rampant and go back to the same location that you were prohibited from going to in the first place and having contact with the person who's the alleged victim in the first place. Mr. Dixon, I don't believe that the plea that was discussed would have been sufficient to deter you in any way. You talk about you got a dog, you have kids, but you're not in any way showing the type of personality or temperament that would suggest that you are somebody who needs to be out on bond. You have already violated 3 of the conditions of your bond. And so at this time, the court is going to issue an arrest warrant. You're to be taken into custody as soon as possible. Mr. Dixon, you can make an arrangement with your attorney to turn yourself in. That would probably be best, because I don't control what happens on the street. But there will be a warrant for your arrest. You will be held in custody until such time as your cases are resolved, or you have trial of those cases. Your bond is revoked.
Your Honor.
On both cases.
Your Honor, I just wanted to ask if the court would be willing at some point, not today, to hear, I guess, to have a plea in the case.
No, ma'am, not today. No, I don't see myself being willing. Not anytime soon. No. Because plea to me means Mr. Dixon's going to get back out. Right now, Mr. Dixon is a clear and present danger to the community. And in my responsibility to protect the community, Mr. Dixon, I just don't see a plea being something that would satisfy that for me.
Understand, Your Honor. We would ask then that he be placed on the next available trial calendar.
If he's an inmate, his case goes up to the top. But other than that, he gets no preference. Mr. Dixon, like I said, you might want to talk with your attorney and turn yourself in. Otherwise, there'll be a warrant for your arrest.
And Mr. Dixon, I obviously will not be able to answer the phone as soon as this hearing is over because I have 2 more hearings. So I'll give you a call after court is over today.
All right. Thank you. Yes. I'm sorry.
Say that again, please.
I'm wondering, did you have a question or you are aware that I've just revoked your bond?
Yes. So my offer to do the 90 days is gone.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Your Honor, may the witnesses on this case be excused?
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, next.
Judge, when did you say you needed to turn yourself in?
Immediately.
Okay.
Yeah. You said I was a threat to society or something like that?
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Dixon, there's a reason why I didn't say certain things. You explained to me that you have a defense. I would advise you that that it would potentially be in your best interest not to say, or that it is in your best interest not to say anything else since the hearing is over. The reason I didn't say certain things during that hearing is because I want to preserve your defense, and I would suggest that you do that as well by keeping quiet.
Okay,
Also,
well,
Mr. Dixon, I would advise you to make no contact with Miss Jones. Don't call, don't text, don't send word by somebody. Don't have your family call her. Don't have anybody show up. Don't do it on social media. Don't have any contact with Miss Jones. Are we clear?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, because we didn't seem to be clear before, but now I'm hoping that.
Okay, so I think this dude need to have a mental evaluation. There's no way I'm gonna dedicate my time or my freedom over the opposite sex. And what's so crazy, he was ordered to stay away from this woman. Not only do you don't stay away, y'all are basically still living together. It was only until he broke your stuff that you went and filed that complaint because you knew you had him by the balls. But why would you double back and keep living with him? But there was no repercussions for her still living with him. But the dude, to have your bond remanded, revoked, and now you remanded, you're ordered to turn yourself in. It's nobody fault but you and yours. The Metro Atlanta has 6.3 million people. I'm quite sure there could have been another person that would have gave you their time and attention, but that's not what you wanted. You wanted to take control and do whatever you wanted to this woman. She was a nice young lady, but while you in jail, somebody else going to be courting her. That's how the old people say it. But nonetheless, this is Antonio with Team Tiggio. Please like, comment, subscribe as we're on the road to 10,000. Hit the notification bell. You can support this channel through Cash App and Super Chat. And once again, we will see you in the next video.